Good evening here from Ibrox, where it is finished Rangers 8, Queen's Park 0 in the Scottish Cup, as Rangers swept aside their lower league opponents to make it into the quarter-finals of the Scottish Cup. A pretty enjoyable afternoon here at Ibrox, Chris. It was never really in any doubt this afternoon. Rangers were 5-0 ahead at the break. I think that's right. Yeah, it's been that many goals. It can be quite tricky to remember all of the scorers and everything that happened this afternoon. There was a little bit of PTSD, I think, from that game last year when Rangers were of course dumped out by Queen's Park, but that was never in the case today. It was never in doubt. Rangers really came out and absolutely blew Queen's Park away. I think one of the main talking points this afternoon, James Tavernier, of course, he got a first half hat-trick. It just continues this incredible scoring run for the skipper. 143 now for Rangers. That's his 150th career goal, and it's just a magnificent scoring record. I think we've spoken about this so much, Chris, but again highlighted this afternoon. A great display from James Tavernier.
Daniel Rule doesn't like speaking about individuals, so we'll do it for him.
Yes.
And I think the two that people will be talking about most, as you say, will be James Tavernier on the back of his performance and his goals and his assists, and Ryan Ndele as well. A really encouraging full debut from him. Tavernier, it just continues, as you say, it's this remarkable run. Now, yes, it was Queen's Park, but he had a very different experience against Queen's Park 12 months ago. He was also the captain on that day, had a late penalty saved as well, so I think there would have been not a bit of scar tissue, because he's been through an awful lot here. I think he's shown a mentality to say that he can park those adversities when they come around, but to come out and just professional is probably a word that's used a lot about James Tavernier. It was a really professional performance, but driving the side on, some nice moments, took his goals well, leads by example, and he deserves all the plaudits he gets. Now, you won't get that many for playing well against Queen's Park, with all respect, but every plaudit that he gets over the course of his Rangers career, I think, is deserved. It's a remarkable return.
He just pipped Ryan Ndele to top goal scorer this afternoon. Ndele obviously getting 2 on his full debut in a Rangers jersey. I thought he played well, Chris. I thought he really showed what he was all about. We got some good early signs of what Ryan Ndele is going to bring to Rangers. I think he's everything that Rangers have been missing a lot so far this season. He looks sharp, he looks quick in the box, and I remember Josh asked us to write what we wanted from the January transfer window, write our top wish from what Rangers should go out and recruit, and I said Rangers need to sign a striker that wants to score more than they want to take their next breath, and I think you can feel that off Ryan Ndele. He is desperate to get in the box, he is desperate to be between the posts, and even sitting up there in the press box, you can feel that he wants to go for every single ball. He scored his second today, which was Rangers 6, and he attacked it with the venom that it was still 0-0 in a Champions League final, and not 6 goals against Queen's Park in the Scottish Cup. I think he's going to be really dangerous for Rangers, and I think the fans have taken to him straight away.
I thought it was really encouraging. We spoke before the game about being critical of his debut the other night, how he should have had a goal, but you could tell a lot about his running and being in the right areas in that game. And I said pre-match, we'll tell a lot about him as a striker, the areas that he pops up in. Is he going to get chances and take chances in between the posts? Is he going to be a penalty box striker? Too often Rangers have had strikers, they're just not in the right areas. Again, spoken a lot about chance creation over the course of the season, clearly been a big issue. Chance conversion has been a big issue over the course of the season, because I've not had guys in the right areas to actually go and put the ball in the back of the net. Ndele looks like he will be able to run, he will be able to occupy defenders, he's also got a big frame, which is good. Rangers in general a lot more physical and a lot more robust these days, which fans, and I know we've been calling for that over the course of the season as well. So he addresses a couple of failures already. If he can show that he can put the ball in the back of the net, then he addresses the main failure in this side and could have a really big part to play. Again, everything that we're saying today comes with the caveat and the proviso and the asterisks. It's only Queen's Park. Yeah. But you have to take the positives while they're there. I think the performance of Ryan Ndele today is certainly a positive to take.
His second goal that I spoke about there, that was laid on by an exquisite little ball in from Oliver Antman. I said in my match report, he got the pitching wedge out and just put one up to the back post for Ndele to go and attack. And I thought it was a really encouraging display from Oliver Antman this afternoon. We spoke about him before the game, that we both believe there is a player in there, that there is something there. He's obviously had a tough time so far in his Rangers career, but maybe this switch to the left left-hand side, maybe playing a little bit more inverted, having that confidence that Tua Romans is outside him making those runs. It may be all falling into place for Oliver Antman. Again, we'll put that caveat saying it is only Queen's Park, it is only baby steps of him showing what he can do, but I'd love to see Oliver Antman come onto a game the second half of this season and really show the type of player that we bought from Holland last year.
The manager mentioned his post-match press conference, which I also see on the YouTube channel and also going to be on the website. He mentioned that they had a game during the weekend trading, and it was the starting 11 today against the bench 11, I feel like, or those that weren't involved from the start. And he said you couldn't really tell the difference. If you go back 2 months or so ago, there was a big difference between what was a first choice Rangers 11 and what was not in that 11. Is Antman in that best 11 right now? Probably not. Could he be? I think he could be. Now, if you look at who's going to play at Fir Park on Wednesday, Scott Volson clearly plays on the right-hand side. Off the left, is it now Antman or is it Gassama? A couple of weeks ago, it was Gassama all day long. Now, I think you see Antman getting a bit sharper, getting a bit fitter after that injury layoff that he had. I think there's now a debate to be had there, and that's a good thing for the manager in that position. Right across the pitch, also Nico Raskin not involved today. You see Chukwani and Diomande being very good again.
Yeah. You can tell that those two have played together. That's a point that someone made in the comments on one of our articles today, that you can really see that relationship is already formed in there. These are two guys that are, Mohamed Diomande came out and said it, they've been friends for years. They know each other's game inside out, and I think that could really help Tochi Chukwani settle in to be a Rangers player. I thought he took his goal really well today as well.
I actually thought he got the first one until your replay showed otherwise. I was all ready to tweet and say that he got the first one, but no doubt about the second one. But it feeds into what the manager was saying there, that there is this strength and depth across the squad now. So yes, Rangers only signed 4 players in the window. I think people were hoping that they'd go and sign 7, 8, 9, which was never realistic. We said right at the start of the window it's going to be 3 or 4. They've added the 3 or 4 in the right areas. They've added a bit of strength, certainly added a bit of depth in certain areas as well. And picking a side now, it's a lot more difficult than it was just a couple of weeks ago, and that depth is going to be required over the course of this title run in.
He's got a decision to make in terms of shape now as well, because obviously we've seen 2 up front today. I think that's probably a lot to do with the opposition. He knew that he was going to get a lot of chances. He wanted to be on the front foot, but it did look like a very progressive formation. The wingers were tucking inside at points. You had the overlapping fullbacks, this kind of 4-2-2-2, as we spoke about, this sort of Red Bull system that Danny Rule maybe would like to adopt at some point. Does he stick with that front 2? Does he bring Mikey Moore back into the 10? I think we all agree that Mikey Moore has to play. So does Mikey Moore come back into the 10? Does Mikey Moore go to the left? Does he keep 2 up front? These are all positive questions, but with that same hand, Danny Rule has to get it right. He has to make the right call, because if he gets it wrong, then people will be asking, why are you not playing 2 up front? Why have you not played Mikey Moore in his best position? A lot of moving parts in these next couple of games.
They're questions that I'll leave Josh to answer over the course of the week, rather than sticking my neck out an hour after a game. But it is positive, as you say. Now, how do Rangers go and approach Wednesday night at Fir Park? How do you approach Hearts here next week? The manager said that 2 wins would be a statement, and of course it would be. 2 wins would put them in a really, really encouraging place. And then also you've got other league games coming up, Old Firm game coming up as well. So he's got himself in a position. It's not, I've said this right throughout his reign, it's not this is who I'm going to play, this is the 11, this is the style, this is it. He is changeable, he's flexible, he's adaptable. Even during games we've seen it. And the good thing now, if you are in the Motherwell camp, you don't know what Rangers is going to turn up on Wednesday. You don't know, will it be the same system, will it be the same players, will you see Gassama come back in, will you see Mikey Moore come back in, also Chermiti and Manny Fernandez. You asked the manager about that in the presser. Hopefully they're back in training and start the week, so they could come back into it. So if you are opposition, you are now second guessing yourself. You don't know what Rangers you're going to get. But I think the encouraging thing for the Rangers fans' perspective, you know, outside of Hibs, you're all but guaranteed a certain level of application and endeavour, and a certain level of attacking performance as well. Hibs is really the outlier of late. There was a real negative reaction to that. Time will tell how important that point actually is, though. Yeah, lest we forget that Hibs game, it was not that long ago. Rangers, we sat there, myself and Joshua sat there at Easter Road, and we were lamenting the fact that they couldn't create any chances, they couldn't make anything happen. And you have to say, fair play to
to Rangers and what they've done over the next 2 games. They've scored 13 goals in 2 games in response to that. I don't think you could ask for very much more from Danny Rowe's side as an answer to that 0-0. Just the last point I'm going to put to you, Chris, is something I put out just before the game. With all the new signings starting today, there is a real change in the physical profile of this Rangers team now. You look at this team and they are giants. You look at this team and they look incredibly physically imposing, which is obviously a strategy for this recruitment team. It's obviously in as a sort of backlash to these early monikers of wee boys that was given to this team early in the season. So now they look like a team that's ready to go and impose themselves on games, which you think, as we know, is going to be increasingly important in this title running.
It could be, and I think it will be. It's a point that we touched on a number of times at the start of the season. A number of games where men against boys. Now, Rangers outplayed tactically, obviously, because the manager had a setup that wasn't suitable to it. Danny Rowe had to get by with those players for so long. You can't go and grow people overnight. Yes. You can't just go and add a foot onto someone over the course of a couple of training sessions. But he managed to get through. He managed to build something. He managed to recover what was a really, really difficult position that he inherited. He's then been able to go and add a couple of players, and again we spoke about it earlier on, adding the good players in the right areas. It has made a real difference to Rangers. They don't look a side that's going to be outfought and outplayed and bullied and all the rest of it anymore. They look like a side, certainly domestically, that are capable of winning a number of games. How many games will they have to win? Time will tell. But they look capable of going and doing it. And this next week, we spoke about it pre-match, spoken about it there. We'll speak a lot about it on the show and the website over the course of the week. It's a huge week for Rangers, but they're going into it in a really good place.
Yep, it's certainly a massive 7 days for Rangers, and they've kicked it off this Sunday in the best possible way, defeating Queen's Park by 8-0 to move on to the quarter-final of the Scottish Cup. That'll do us here from Ibrox, of course. Stay across the Rangers Review, all the social media channels and the website for all the fallout from this game, and of course we'll be back with the morning briefing at 9:30 tomorrow to dissect it all over again. But for now, thanks for watching and thanks for listening.